A lot of shooters we come across can shoot accurately, but they struggle to speed things up and maintain accuracy. So in our How to Shoot a Pistol series, we're going to begin to talk or really dial into shooting faster. And today we are going to start with target focused shooting. So if you're interested, stay tuned. All right, welcome back. I'm Myles at Tactical Hyve, and today we are going to be talking about target focused shooting. You might be wondering what that is. If you are new to shooting, you've probably heard, and you're starting with iron sights. If you're new to shooting and starting with iron sights, not a red dot, you've probably heard a lot of instructors say front sight focus, front sight focus, front sight focus, which is absolutely correct. When you're learning, you need to, that's the best way to approach things. Now, if you're shooting a red dot, that's different. With a red dot, you should be target focused. However, for those of you shooting a red dot who have never learned that, you might be looking at your red dot. So just like people who are shooting iron sights, they are focusing on the front sight. If you're a beginner shooting a red dot, maybe you're focusing on the red dot. Instead of doing that, you want to focus on your target. So this is the start of shooting faster, okay? We're taking baby steps. So do not take this video out of context. This by itself is not the answer, right? There's a lot more to it. There are layers. But the very first thing you need to understand is that you need to start with front sight focus to build good mechanics, okay? Build good technique. Then you are now going to be focusing more on the target. And this might not make sense to you. You might be worried, okay, so how am I gonna get accurate shots? Again, baby steps, we'll get there, right? But for now, let's talk about how to understand how to use target focused shooting. We're going to start off dry, and I have my trusty dry fire mag, which I highly recommend you use for all of your dry fire training, particularly if you're using a striker fire pistol. This is going to allow you to manipulate that trigger. It's going to automatically reset things and just make things a lot easier and more enjoyable. So I have a target down range with a black circle there. I'm using that as a reference point. You don't necessarily need that, but it's just going to make things easier because I want you to focus on a distinct point. With your gun unloaded, we are just working vision right now. You're going to present to that target and use the techniques you know. You're going to present, and if you're using iron sights, you're going to be looking at that front sight just as you were trained. You have crystal clear focus on your front sight. Okay, that is how everyone starts off with iron sights. If you're a beginner using a red dot, and let's say you're focusing on the red dot, which shouldn't be the case, but let's just pretend, maybe you haven't learned the proper way to shoot a red dot, you're gonna be focusing on that dot then. All right, so we're focusing on a front sight or a red dot. And here we will break that shot, okay? With a dry fire mag, it's automatically going to reset. For those of you racking your slide, you can do that in between shots. But the whole idea here is we are getting used to this motion, the mechanics, the techniques that you know. We break the shot and we're focused on a red dot or a front sight. Now what I want you to do is change your focus to the target, okay? Have the target be crystal clear rather than your red dot or your front sight. So now I have a crystal clear front sight or red dot. Now I'm changing my focus to the target. Okay. Obviously you can't see what I'm seeing, but now this is really blurry and the target is very clear. Okay. The idea here is, with this dry fire session, is just to get you used to looking at your target without moving or adjusting your focus back to your front sight. Again, baby steps. You're not going to do this all the time. All right. There are certain situations, but you need to get comfortable with staying target focused. Okay. The whole idea here is, right now, my front sight is clear. I went back to my original method of shooting here, okay, as a beginner. Now I'm focusing on that black circle, and that's crystal clear. Now I'm focusing on that black circle. If you guys are paying attention, you can still see your sights aligned with your target, even though you changed focus. So the point here is, your sights are going to stay on target even if you change what you're focusing on. This is all about getting comfortable with something that you're not used to, because everyone is taught front sight focus, front sight focus, front sight focus. So now we need to bend the rules a little bit. And this dry fire drill is just showing you that your sights are not going to move. You're just changing where your vision and focus is. So now all I want you to do is, for those of you who struggle because you just always focus on your front sight, this is a great baby step drill, okay? So I'm focusing on my sight. Now I change my focus to the target. It's crystal clear. I break my shot and then I stop. Very simple, very easy, okay? Now I'm going to do this again. I focus on my front sight. break the shot. Focus on the target, break the shot. What you need to do is be very strict. When you are doing this drill, you need to really pay attention. Are you being tempted to bring that focus back to your front sight or your red dot when you shouldn't for this drill? Okay? And the reason why we are going back and forth is, I'm assuming you're a beginner, you've never done this, you need repetitions. You need repetitions. You need to try to break the habit of always focusing on the front sight. Again, it's not wrong. It's absolutely correct to learn shooting with a front sight. But now when we are trying to break the rules, so to speak, if you've built a habit of focus on your front sight, it's going to be harder. So you need to practice, okay? So I'm going back and forth, front sight focus, break the shot. Now I'm focusing on the target, break the shot. As I'm doing this, I need to make sure that my sights are not moving. You will still be able to see your sights. They'll be blurry, but you'll know if they're completely off target, even if you're focused on the target, okay? So the entire series, we've always talked about how you have to have high awareness of what you're doing, right? And this is why shooting takes time. All of the techniques you can learn, very quickly, but it takes time to be hyper aware of what you're doing. And this is why you need to practice all the time. So going back to this drill, you want to do that until you're comfortable, maybe 10, 20, 30 reps of going back and forth, okay? This is just one way to do it, all right? And we're doing this dry. Now, when you're comfortable with that, the second level is literally just focusing on the target the entire time, presenting your gun, and the target is still clear, and now I'm going to break the shot even with a blurry sight picture. Okay, that would be the second level. When you're doing this, you have to be very strict because now you need to make sure your sights. So if you were in clear focus and I present the gun to you, right, I need to make sure my sights are aligned with you, even though they're blurry. Okay, so make sure you are cognizant, really aware of that. Okay, so you're doing that for 10, 20 reps. That is all you really need to do to begin to train your brain to be target focused. You can do this as many reps as you want, but really just these reps, just going back and forth and now just staying target focused. Now let's do this live fire. All right, so what you want to do for the live fire session, which is very easy, is have a target downrange. The distance doesn't really matter. I'm using a steel target, so I'm about 7, 8 yards away. And for those wondering, because I always get a lot of questions about the stuff we use, this is from Shoot Steel. These are the targets I like to use. And I like to use this one in particular because everything on it is AR 500. That means if you have people who don't know what they're doing and they shoot the stand, it's not going to break. So whatever you're using, either steel or paper, you want to make sure that you have a reference point. And what you're going to be doing for the live fire drill is exactly the same as dry fire. You're going to start off with changing focus. So right now, I will be front sight focus. I'm going to break my shot. Okay. Now I'm going to focus on the target with a blurry sight. Okay. Notice, if everything is correct, your mechanics are the same, you're still going to hit the target, even though we are doing something you're not used to, where the sights are now blurry, okay? So you would do this until you feel very confident, you're hitting accurate shots, you don't find yourself focusing on the front sight or your red dot when you should be focusing on the target. Now what we want to do is everything is going to be target focused. You no longer are looking at your front sight, you're looking at the target and breaking the shots slowly. Notice I'm not doing any time here. You're just going for accuracy and training yourself to focus on the target. This is a stepping stone, the starting point to shooting much faster because it's all about knowing where your target is. A lot of people slow down because sometimes they're trying to align their sights, and we're going to get into that a lot more in this series. So you're going to do this, just focusing on your target, no speed, just focusing on the target and landing accurate shots. Okay? You need to be hyper-focused. Make sure you're not bringing your focus back to the iron sights. And the reason we're doing this live fire as well is for the same reason we do all live fire drills, is that we need to validate our dry fire. And a lot of people, when they're shooting live ammo, sometimes things just break apart just because they're shooting something now. There's this little explosion going on in their hands, right? So this is the start. We're just trying to get you used to focusing on the target. If this was a target very far away, then things change. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're going to get into that later in this series. But for now, all I want you to do not worry about doing this from the draw, doing this from presentation. Just do this from being pushed out, focus on the target, and break the shot. So I missed that second one. I was just rushing it, but that's the idea. You want focused shots. Now I'm shooting this that's probably, I think it's a 3-inch square, the head box. You don't need to do that, right? But you're focusing on that reference point. And all you're gonna do is take shots as you're target focused. Maintaining accuracy. That is all you're gonna do for the live fire. This is going to make a lot more sense as we add layers to this in the following weeks. But that's all I want you to do for this dry fire and live fire session is get used to going back and forth from your front sight to the target and getting used to taking shots when you're target focused. Of course, your skill level is going to dictate how far you can get from the target as well as the difficulty of your target, but just use a setup that's easier for you because it's not about hitting hard targets right now from a distance or small targets, it's just getting used to your vision. So give those simple drills a try. Like I said, they're very easy, but you need to be hyper aware. Don't get sucked into focusing back on that front sight unless you're deliberately doing that for the drill. This is gonna be the first step to shooting faster, and we're gonna add on to this in the following weeks. I hope you guys like the video. See you guys next week.